Hello guys, I hope you are hopeful. Today I wanted to introduce you an interesting script that you can use to control the speed of moving objects in your scene more precisely. For instance, if there is a moving car in this rendering shot and this movement will be recorded as motion blur in our rendering, if that car moves at a real speed, it will look much more realistic and have a more natural motion blur. I want to give you an example. I have a car here. In this way, for example, I want it to be placed here in this shot. But if I render now, this car is frozen. If we want to have a motion blur effect, this car must be moving. So I will come and give it an animation. For example, I will put it here. I turn on auto key button and move the car forward for the 1 second, 30 frames, for example here. Okay, now I will check and play this slider so that the car is in the desired position in a time frame that I want. But how do I know how fast this car is moving now? 10 or 20 kilometers per hour? Well, for example, in such an intersection with a speed of 14 kilometers or 15 kilometers per hour, it's illogical and can be seen as real. I use this script to be able to obtain the speed of moving subject. Just go to scripting menu and click run script. Open the script called Speedmeter. Then you will come to customize menu and customize user interface. In the toolbars tab, you can search for Speedmeter. And let's put this Speedmeter in our toolbox by clicking and dragging. That's what I did here now. Well, you select the desired object, the object that's the movement of the method is created. Now we click on this script on these tools. This window will open. See, this car's name is Vivid Car and is recognized here. We can specify the unit of measurement of speed. I put it on kilometer per hour. Now in frame 7, my car has a speed of 17 kilometers per hour. If I move the time frame further, you can see that now it's almost 100 kilometers in frame 17. That is what I mean by this. The speed of this car is 100 kilometers and it's not normal. It's too much. Either I have to animate it with a slower speed or I can come here. I will move these keyframes from 0 to 60 instead of from 0 to 30. Well, it involves more time for these movements and it happens more slowly. Move the slider to desired position. Now look, in this position its speed is 48 kilometers per hour. Well, this is much more logical. Okay, I will close this script. Now I can choose the camera. Let me tell you something about motion blur. Let's have a rendering of this for now. You can see that the car is completely frozen and fixed, which means that no movement in the car is included in the rendering. In order to get animation output, we can implement motion blur on this. It's enough that my camera is selected. Then, in the camera parameters, go into the shutter section and enable motion blur. Okay, I will re-render and see the effect on the car. Now the movement of the car is being included to the viewer completely in a rendering in a single frame. Because the speed of the car was a reasonable speed, you can see the motion blur effect, which is very reasonable and of the suitable size. Now if we want to increase the blur intensity, we can do it very easily with the duration parameter in the shutter speed. For example, the shutter is closing on 1/60th of a second. We can keep the shutter open longer so that the motion blur effect increases. For example, I set this to 1/20th of a second. Therefore, the shutter stays open much longer and that motion shows itself more in the image. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial.